The episode that has captivated the entire Heartland community, perhaps the most profoundly moving and memorable in the show's storied history, unfolds. Yes, Borden has returned. Following seasons defined by sorrow, strength, and the agonizingly slow journey of healing, season 19, episode 1 presents what many had lost hope of ever witnessing again. Ty Borden's return to Amy, to Lindy, to the ranch, and to everyone who held on to the belief that love might, against all odds, find its path. But this installment delves deeper than a simple homecoming. It's an emotional reckoning, a reunion fraught with complexity, a narrative thread woven with raw feeling that stretches back to the very beginnings of Heartland. To truly grasp the significance of this moment, one must reflect on Ty's origins. A troubled teenager adrift, marked by a difficult past, who found refuge and family under Jack Bartlett's care at Heartland. Through the years, Ty evolved, becoming a skilled veterinarian, a loyal partner, a steadfast guardian of the animals and people he cherished. Most significantly, he became Amy's husband and Lindy's father, the very soul of a story founded on quiet resilience, unwavering love, and a bond that felt eternal. Then the unthinkable tragedy struck in season 14. A sudden, devastating turn after complications from a gunshot wound claimed his life, or so it seemed. The loss was shattering, not just for the viewers, but profoundly for Amy. Heartland bravely chose to portray the aftermath, showing us a widow grappling with rebuilding a life she never foresaw, raising Lindy alone. We witnessed Amy's struggles, her falls and rises, her incredible strength interwoven with palpable pain. Throughout it all, Ty's absence remained a persistent, quiet sorrow lingering over the ranch. Now, in an astonishing narrative twist, Heartland reshapes the reality we accept. It's not a dream nor a flight of fantasy. The writers opted for a path more grounded, more human, more quintessentially Heartland. The truth revealed is that Ty didn't die immediately after collapsing from the blood clot. He was rushed into intensive care, placed into a medically induced coma, his chances deemed minimal by doctors. In that moment of overwhelming uncertainty, Jack made a profound, difficult choice. To shield Amy from further potential heartbreak, he kept Ty's precarious survival a secret. That decision, born of love and protection, altered the course of their lives irrevocably. Ty endured years of isolated recovery, battling physical and emotional trauma, clinging to the hope of returning to his family, striving to piece back the man he once was. And finally, in season 19, episode 1, he reappears, unassuming, gentle, embodying the quiet, steady presence that always defined Ty Borden, needing no grand entrance. Amy's reaction is visceral, utterly soul-stirring. Imagine the scene. Amy in the pasture with Spartan, the familiar rhythm of brushing him in the soft morning light, the wind whispering, the sound of hooves, a grounding presence. Suddenly, a voice, one she hasn't heard in years, cuts through the quiet air. "Hello, Ames." She stills, the brush falling unnoticed to the earth. Turning slowly, she sees him. Ty standing there looking worn, weathered, but undeniably alive. Her breath catches. There's no music, no dramatic flourish, just the raw, heavy silence of the moment. Amy confronting the ghost she mourned, the husband she dreamt of, the man she painstakingly learned to live with, too. She moves toward him, step by hesitant step, her body trembling, tears already tracing paths down her cheeks before her mind can fully process the impossible sight. Her hand lifts, tentative, desperate, needing the physical confirmation that he's real, that her eyes aren't betraying her. When their gazes finally lock, a universe of emotion unfolds. Love, profound loss, simmering rage, overwhelming grief, disbelief, and the stark reality of the years stolen by time and silence. She is incandescently furious, yet simultaneously flooded with an indescribable joy. The conflicting emotions are too immense, too overwhelming to reconcile. Her carefully reconstructed world shatters once more. Later, seeking an outlet, she rides hard, disappearing into the familiar solace of the barn, only to let out screams of anguish into the hayloft, eventually collapsing onto the dusty floor, overcome. Then she's on horseback again, galloping wildly into the hills, shouting her pain and confusion at the vast, indifferent sky. How does one mourn the same person twice? How can she possibly love the man who allowed her to endure such prolonged, solitary grief? And then there's Lindy. Her encounter with Ty is pure, unscripted magic. She's engrossed in play near the barn, humming softly to herself, dust on her small boots, her hair catching the wind. She notices movement at the edge of the woods, a tall figure silhouetted against the golden morning light. Squinting, she tries to make him out. Ty halts, paralyzed by fear, unsure how to approach this child who has grown so much in his absence. Does she remember him? Will she react with fear, tears, or blank unfamiliarity? He has missed her entire childhood, the milestones, the everyday moments. Does he even retain the right to call himself her father? Then her small voice breaks the stillness, soft yet clear, filled with innocent curiosity. Who are you? Ty sinks to his knees, his own voice choked with a mixture of desperate hope and crushing heartbreak. I'm Ty. She replies simply, my name is Lindy. And in that simple exchange, a new fragile chapter begins. A beat of silence hangs in the air, punctuated only by the breeze. After studying him for a moment, Lindy takes a slow step forward. You look like someone from my dreams, she says, her voice low and earnest. What happens next is breathtakingly beautiful. Without hesitation, without a trace of ambiguity, she wraps her small arms around his neck in a tight embrace, an act of pure, instinctive love. Overwhelmed by the realization that his daughter, in her own way, never truly forgot him, Ty holds her close, silent sobs shaking his shoulders as he buries his face in her hair. This moment transcends explanation or the need for immediate forgiveness. It's about pure, unadulterated connection. Lindy might not comprehend the complexities of his absence, but her heart recognizes him. Jack Bartlett, Heartland's enduring anchor, handles Ty's reappearance with the quiet gravitas and deep emotional wisdom that defines him. Jack is the first to see Ty upon his return to the ranch. Engaged in the familiar task of brushing a horse in the barn, he hears unfamiliar footsteps and turns. There stands Ty just feet away, alive, yet visibly frail, exhausted, and bearing the heavy weight of his ordeal. Jack doesn't rush forward, doesn't speak immediately. Instead, his weathered eyes absorb the sight, the years of grief and guarded hope etched onto his face. Slowly, deliberately, Jack sets down the brush, wipes his hands on his jeans, and approaches Ty. His voice, when he finally speaks, is gruff, masking the depth of emotion beneath. Took your sweet time. His eyes glisten. As Ty attempts to form words, to explain, Jack simply cuts him off, pulling him into a powerful, firm hug, an embrace filled with unspoken relief, sorrow, and enduring love. Later, the two men sit in contemplative silence on the porch, a familiar setting now charged with new meaning. Jack speaks with a vulnerability rarely seen. Didn't believe him, when they said you were gone. Not really. But Amy, she needed closure, needed to move on. Couldn't take that hope away from her, not until I was certain you had a real chance. His words carry the weight of his difficult decision, a choice laden with love, but also a measure of guilt. Seeing Ty now, alive and returned, evokes a complex mix of pride and sorrow in the old cowboy. You got a second chance, son, Jack says, his gaze steady. Don't waste it. Still a lot of healing to do. A lot of love still needs giving, to Amy, to Lindy, to all of us. Jack's quiet affirmation underscores his role as the family's emotional bedrock, always composed, steadfast, ready to guide with a steady hand and an understanding heart. Lou's reaction to Ty's return is characteristically unfiltered, messy, and deeply human. Arriving home after a demanding day at Maggie's diner, she expects the usual evening sounds. Amy in the kitchen, Jack's voice drifting from the yard, Lindy's laughter. Instead, she walks into an unnerving quiet and sees him, Ty, her brother-in-law, the man she loved, the man she helped bury. Her eyes widen in disbelief, her breath catching in her throat. For a moment, and she's frozen, whispering, "No, this isn't real." Then the shock gives way to a surge of emotion. Tears stream down her face as she rushes towards him, not with welcoming arms, but with hands clenched into trembling fist. "Do you have any idea what you put us through?" she cries, her voice cracking with anguish. "Amy grieved for you. We all grieve for you. And you just show up? Show up? Like nothing happened?" Ty attempts to speak, his voice thick with remorse, but Lou cuts him off, the pain pouring out of her. "You missed everything, Ty. You missed Amy at her absolute lowest. You missed Lindy's first words, birthdays, scraped knees. You missed the nights we held each other and cried until there were no tears left." Her anger is palpable, fueled by years of sorrow and the protective love she feels for her sister. But then, as she truly looks into his eyes, the kind, familiar eyes she thought she'd never see again, something shifts within her. The fierce rage begins to soften, replaced by the undeniable reality of his presence. Slowly, she steps closer, her arms tentatively reaching out, finally closing around him in a tight embrace. "We missed you." She manages to whisper, the words heavy with years of unspoken longing. "We missed you so much." Lou's conflict is authentic. The ever practical planner, the fixer, fiercely loyal and protective of Amy, she now grapples with the bewildering hope Ty's return ignites. Forgiveness may be a journey, but beneath the hurt, her deep love for her family remains the stronger force. Georgie, once the fiery, rebellious teen finding her place, is now a poised, empathetic young woman, grounded and emotionally perceptive. When news of Ty's return reaches her, she doesn't react with immediate shock or rush to see him. Instead, she takes time, processing the enormity of it all in her own thoughtful way. Ty had been like an older brother to her, someone who saw her potential when others didn't, who encouraged her to believe in herself and chase dreams beyond the ranch boundaries. His disappearance was a profound loss, forcing her to navigate her path to adulthood without his steadying influence. When she finally seeks him out, finding him in the quiet solitude of the barn, their reunion is marked by a long, meaningful silence. A gentle smile touches Georgie's lips. "You really are stubborn," she says. Her voice soft but certain, always knew it. "Only you could pull off coming back from the impossible." As Ty begins to stammer an apology for his absence, for not being there, Georgie shakes her head, cutting him off with quiet understanding. "You don't need to say anything, Ty. I get it. Life throws curveballs, but I'm glad you're back. And I hope you know, you mattered. Even when you were gone, you still mattered." Her response, deeply mature and compassionate, highlights her growth and the enduring impact Ty had on her life. She pulls him into a warm, affectionate hug, a gesture filled with shared history and mutual respect. Georgie's journey beautifully illustrates her resilience and her ability to carry forward the lessons Ty imparted. Even in his absence, Tim Fleming, ever the complex figure, often rough around the edges, fiercely protective yet notoriously guarded with his emotions, finds his carefully constructed defenses challenged by Ty's return. His initial reaction is one of cautious observation, arms crossed, jaw set firm, as he sizes up Ty from across the yard. "So, you're back," he states, the words blunt, almost in accusation. Ty nods mutely, unsure of the reception. A flicker of Ty's old wry humor surfaces as he asks weakly, "You gonna hit me or hug me?" Tim remains motionless for a beat, the internal struggle visible on his face. Then, a slow exhale, a slight softening of his posture. "Hell if I know how I feel," he admits, his voice rougher than usual. "You were dead. Blamed myself. Thought I'd failed you somehow." A tense silence stretches between them before Tim abruptly closes the distance, pulling Ty into a fierce, almost bruising hug, thick with unspoken emotion. "You stupid kid," he murmurs into Ty's shoulder, his voice thick. "Don't you ever do that again." Though Tim's words are few, his actions speak volume. After years of maintaining a stoic front for Amy, for Lindy, for everyone, Ty's return grants Tim permission to finally let his own guard down, to acknowledge the grief and guilt he's carried silently. It's one of the most vulnerable moments we've witnessed from him, a crack in the hardened exterior revealing the deep well of feeling beneath. 5. The scene everyone has been waiting for unfolds late at night, under the vast expanse of the Alberta sky, stars scattered like diamonds across the darkness. Ty and Amy sit together on the familiar porch swing, enveloped by the quiet intimacy of shared history and unspoken questions. Amy clutches a worn blanket, her eyes swollen from tears, her body curled slightly inward. Ty sits beside her, his hands clasped tightly in his lap, the weight of the years and the words he needs to say pressing down on him. "I thought about this moment," he begins, his voice barely a whisper, heavy with emotion, "1,000 times, maybe more. But now that I'm actually here, I don't know what to say." Amy turns to him, her gaze direct, her own voice raw with unshed tears and exhaustion. "Say it, Ty. Whatever it is, just say it." He draws a long, ragged breath. "I never wanted to leave you, Ames. Never. But when I woke up, when I finally understood what had happened, that everyone thought I was dead, I..." He falters, the words catching in his throat. "I was scared. Scared to face what I'd missed." scared I wouldn't be enough anymore. A single tear escapes Amy's eye, tracing a path through the dust on her cheek as she shakes her head fiercely. You were always enough, Ty. Always. I never stopped loving you. Not for a second. Even when I thought you were gone. I lived with that love every single day, and the pain lived with that too. Ty reaches out, his hand hovering over hers before gently taking it. I wish I could take it all back, he whispers, his voice thick with regret. The years you spent alone, raising Lindy by yourself, grieving me, every birthday, every bedtime story, every single moment. I wish I could have been there. Amy leans into him then, the physical contact a release, allowing the dam of pent-up grief and enduring love to finally break. She rests her head against his shoulder, her voice muffled but clear. You're here now, she whispers. And and I don't know what happens next. I honestly don't. But I want to try. I want us to try. Ty gently kisses her forehead, a gesture full of tenderness and unspoken promises. One day at a time, he murmurs. Amy sighs, a sound that holds both weariness and a flicker of hope. One day at a time. In that quiet moment, under the starlit sky, they forge a new beginning. Not by erasing the painful past, but by choosing to honor it, and tentatively, bravely choosing love once again.